Abel Abo, a Nigerian robotic expert in the UK, has predicted that Nigeria can double her GDP if she takes charge of data and artificial intelligence space in Africa. Stick around for the details. And Rahim Yakub, a Nigerian living in Munich, Germany, is ready to upskill talents of young people in sports development. And a Nollywood film producer and activist, Dr. Lancelot Imashun, is enthusiastic in bringing on board the physically challenged in a premiere, not a burden, with a Nigerian education therapist in the United States of America, Dr. Badiwa Adejugbe Williams. And of course, do not forget our complimentary segments of Health Tips by Association of Nigerian Physicians in the Americas, AMPA, and our Diaspora of the Moment. This is your favorite show, The Diaspora, and I am Khadija Bamali, your anchor. Please stay. Let's begin with Abel Abo, a Nigerian who works in the Central Bank of UK and a data and AI system specialist. He visited the chairman CEO, NIDCOM, Honorable Abike Dabiri Erewa.
Thank you for the great things you've been doing in the UK and also in Nigeria. And I know you also have plans for your country. And when we say diaspora of the moment, it's not just about what you do abroad, but also what you do, your connection back home, and what you want to do for your own country. So maybe we just hear a bit from you on your plans, what you think with your wealth of knowledge and experience you can attract to Nigeria.
Artificial intelligence is what we need to start focusing right now, because as we know, internet has shaped the world, and that's what artificial intelligence is doing. So a PwC report that came out just a couple of months ago said about $15.7 trillion is available globally. And for within Africa and the Oceanic, we've got about $1.2 trillion. That's the difference that artificial intelligence can contribute to a society and a nation. And in particular in Nigeria, from my analysis, I think that potentially we might be looking to double our GDP. And that's a massive opportunity we don't need to let out, because we're operating in a competitive environment at the moment. So what we simply need to do is to start building our capabilities and focusing on that and having people that understand the space to lead the charge. And we've got our young people to support that as well, so that we can deliver for Nigerian people, and not just Nigerian people, across the continent. Because when we talk about this technology, far too long, we're always consumers of it. But we should be developers and leaders. So my vision for Nigeria is for Nigeria to be a powerhouse and a leader in developing and using artificial intelligence in a trustworthy way, an ethical way, and an inclusive way, because we're a diverse society, but more importantly for Africa. So Nigeria should be leading the charge, and that's the story I want to share, and that's the opportunity we're talking about.
So if Nigeria leads the charge, what do you see happening in Nigeria in maybe the next 5-10 years?
It's going to be transformational. I'll just give you a simple analogy. So in the early 90s, the New York Stock Exchange was doing about 1 billion transactions a day. But over 2000, they started doing 5 billion transactions. And the reason for that is because of the WW Web, the internet as well. So with Nigeria leading the charge, we create opportunities. And opportunities for our young people and for our older people, the services that we consume from government and the services that we consume from the private sector as well. And the way we experience things would dramatically change as well. And I'm delighted that we've seen the difference with telecommunication in Nigeria, how that's changed the conversation as well. And that's the opportunity. So people's life will be enriched, there will be prosperity, because we're talking about potentially doubling our GDP, and that would mean a difference for people. And I think that's something phenomenal. We don't need to forget about that. We need to tap into it as soon as possible, because the race has already commenced already.
Okay. Well, thank you, Abel. As a Nigerian in the diaspora, we are here, your embassy here, to make sure you talk to the right people.
Thank you.
And get this done.
No, thank you so much.
All the very best.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's join the producer and director of the Diaspora, Mr. Gabriel Odu, as he engages Mr. Rahim Yakub, a Nigerian in Diaspora, Munich, Germany.
I've been a football coach since my kids were young. That is to say, I've been taking them around. So eventually I started coaching youths. So the last 20 years I do coach youths in clubs, going from, let's say, from under 10 to under 18. And then they leave me and go further. If they make it to go further to the football world, thank God. If not, well, they kept fit.
Now, I also learned you are the president of FAMI Association in Munich.
AFEMA Union. That is that is ESAC local government area. You know, we are called AFEMA.
Okay.
You know, and I'm uniting the AFEMA people living in Bayern, Bavaria.
Yeah.
That's what we would say.
What do you do? What do you do with them?
We just started 2 years ago forming, and every now and then I come to Nigeria to look for projects. We haven't actually invested in any of the projects yet, but we collect what we intend to do. So that's why it was a good thing for me also to be present here in this office today to hear more. And I think Basi was very, very educative. He talked so much that my head was exploding, hearing too many things I can do in the future, I must say. I'm going to take a lot from him with me.
Like you are really energized to explode.
Exactly.
When you go back, you are built up to do a lot of things.
Not only to do things,
Yeah.
instead also to talk to a lot of my brothers who refuse to come back home.
Okay.
You know, because I was really inspired with his words. I said very little, but I was very, very inspired.
So yeah, you know, you're like the secretary to the commission has discussed with you. Yeah, Nigerians in Diaspora Commission is established primarily for you in the diaspora.
Yes.
How we can engage with you, how you can be the best you can be in your host country, how you can be a good ambassador, and not forgetting home.
Yes.
More importantly, basically. So, as you go back, are you in a good stead to ensure that these cardinal objectives are given back to community, that is your home country, Nigeria?
Yes. Yes, I started it years back at Auchi.
Okay.
Supplying football jerseys to youths. But then after years of, when I come back and look for these teams that were formed that time, they are no more together.
Yeah.
They are not a team anymore. So
sustainability.
exactly, yeah. So I've always thought the best way is actually have something registered, because that is exactly what we do in Europe. The club is registered. We have starting from G, we call it G, which is 5-6 years old. We already start removing them from the street already at that age. So they start from G, F, E, D, C, B, and A.
Okay, A, that is the national.
No, don't mean national team. It means they are now above 18.
Okay.
You know, so we grab them at the age of 6 and lead them to the age of 18, 19, 20, and you know, so they actually don't have time. They are, you know, they know, okay, I go do my sport. When I get home, I must learn because tomorrow is test. So you actually, as a child, don't have that time for crime. Your mind is set. And this would be my dream for Nigeria.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Congratulations. We pray and hope that this dream is materialized.
Let's take a short break. Keep watching The Diaspora. And now to the premiere, Not a Burden, with Nollywood filmmaker, culture enthusiast, and activist Dr. Lancelot Imashun.
One of the greatest elements of culture is language. Unity in diversity. Imagine being able to play out the beauty of this tribe, the beauty of this tribe, the beauty of this tribe. now integrating people to, oh, see how delicious and relishing is the meal from this book. You see, every other aspect of our life, we connect. Food. There is nowhere in Nigeria you go to, you not say Amala spot. Amala is a defining meal, a cultural meal that's associated with a particular tribe and part of Nigeria. But you go to Akwa Ibom, you go to Kaduna, you will see somewhere they say Amala spot. Another one is Calabar kitchen. We know the precious Edikaiko soup that is associated with those people. And there's hardly any big city in Nigeria today other than that place where you don't see them. Like Isiewu has no other name in Nigeria other than Isiewu. So you go to anywhere and say, give me Isiewu. These are meal that, or like abacha, these things. So I am a proponent of using culture as an integral part to foster unity, to create better brotherliness, and advancing the country forward.
I'm impressed. Culture is the totality.
In totality, yes. So
I agree with you.
We had the very rare privilege to pitch our film, one of the best films that this is almost 30 years of active practice in Nollywood, made some of the biggest movies in the history of Nigeria, notably the Sakaba, the Last Burial, Invasion 1897, Games Women Play, Games Men Play. Those that are advocates of Nigerian film, these are not films you gloat about. I've made all these films over the years, but I make bold to say that the best film that I've ever made remains the film I came to pitch at the Nigerian Diaspora Investment Summit, titled Not a Burden.
Not a burden.
Not a burden. Not because it's just another film, but the strength of the message that is in the film. Because this has been what has distinguished the Nigerian film from other kind of films. Not just entertainment for the sake of entertainment, but films with great life-changing messages that make impact. Not a Burden went far to look at the issues of neurodevelopmental disorder, autism, quite a lot. In our local parlance, we say, oh, the child is an imbecile. We make joke with all of those things. But this film brought me, in partnership with the Royal Educational Foundation, to understand, and I came firsthand as a filmmaker. So I was able to live my artistic self and wore the coat of humanity. And I saw firsthand what? Meeting these children, and I told myself that, okay, an advocacy film is being planned to be made to bring to the fore the challenges of these children. The challenges don't mainly the medical, but the social challenges that it poses to these children, that is not giving them the leeway to express themselves. I'm a man that I've been around the world as a result of what I do, travel around the world. We see the society carefully had planned for these children. You see them in the mall, you see them walking on the way, they are not a body. Why is our own different? So this film brought to the fore, nakedly. This is what we do as a people against these children. This is what we should do, because they can become whatever they want to become if the society understands the intricacies of their challenges.
In our exploration of the vocational skills they were learning, and some of them even picking up academically, a lot of times parents, they really don't believe that these children can learn. You know, some parents out there, they say they don't need to send their children to school. You know, after all, they can never be doctors. Why waste money on them? So we said, let's document how these children actually learn. Seeing is believing, right? So we applied for grants and we received a grant to do a documentary on how they learned. And the documentary followed them from the classroom to the speech therapy session, to the occupational therapy session, to the life skills session, to them practicing the skills they were learning, be it barbing, be it baking, frying, cooking, farming, and you'll be amazed, right? And then in one of the classes, I just happened to walk in and I asked the children, how they were doing, and some of them had some emotions. Sometimes some are not able to express themselves, and sometimes some are able to. But just by knowing their temperament and reading the body language and having an understanding as a professional, I was able to pick up that there were some issues. So we started discussing the issues. And the idea now came to me that why don't we make a movie about these issues? And I told them, do you watch movies? Do you watch TV? Those that are verbal were able to respond. Those that were non-verbal, they could communicate either with their gestures. And I said, okay, we're going to make a movie. Okay, when you come to school every day, what is the first thing that you do? We started discussing it. Like, okay, I have my breakfast. I took a taxi broke down, just different scenarios. We started piecing it together, piecing their lives together as a way of making a movie out of it. And then at school, what they go through, the processes, some even with the parents, interaction with parents. We said, okay, these are the scenarios based on what we jotted down. I now reached out to Mr. Ambassador Dr. Lancelot Imasuen. I said, we need help. Said, I can't pay you, we're non-profit, we don't have money. But we want these children to tell their stories, for the world to see that they actually have skills. Everybody's got an ability to do something. Sure. Some things I cannot do, they can do. Sure. So let's showcase this. Let's amplify their voices. Let people see them doing these things. Let's make this movie and tell their stories.
Many thanks, Dr. Lancelot and Dr. Badiwa, to bring on ability in disability. Up next, our health tips with AMPA doctors.
Today I'd like to talk a little bit about high blood pressure. High blood pressure, which is elevated blood pressure, is something that is a very common chronic illness that affects a lot of people. When you say your blood pressure is elevated, it could be episodic or long-standing. And long-standing would be a blood pressure greater than 140/90 that is documented at your medical evaluation for more than 3 episodes. When your blood pressure is elevated, it could be from a number of associated illnesses. But the commonest one that affects people is called essential hypertension. And this is hypertension that occurs that is a chronically elevated blood pressure in the absence of any other predisposing reasons or diseases. And it requires ongoing care and intervention. Some of the things that help to address high blood pressure are the need for lifestyle modification. That includes drinking plenty of fluids, avoiding salt, losing weight, having your weight be closer to what is expected, which is based on your height. But everyone could do to lose a little bit of weight, and trying to be active and exercising so that your blood vessels are pumping blood regularly to your different organs and is associated with lowering your blood pressure. Despite all this, and even with people who have healthy habits, you could still require medication. And the thing is, if you are needing medication as a hypertensive or being diagnosed with high blood pressure, you have to take it every day. What happens a lot of times is people take the blood pressure medicine for a few days, a few weeks or months, and then stop. And then the elevated blood pressure is associated with end organ damage, which could be strokes if it affects your brain, heart attacks if it affects your heart. It could affect your ability to walk around and be mobile. If you had a stroke, it could affect your kidneys, and then you require dialysis. These are all reasons why you need to take your blood pressure medicine regularly to prevent end organ damage and decrease the injury to these organs due to the chronically elevated blood pressure. To have an idea of what your blood pressure is, you should check it regularly, probably if you could every day, but you don't have to check it every day. You need to have a regular understanding of how high it is so that you can manage it accordingly.
And now to our diaspora of the moment.
Our diaspora of the moment is Dr. Ijeoma Akunyili. Dr. Ijeoma is a Nigerian-American based medical practitioner. She is the first daughter of the late Dora Akunyili, former Director General of National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, and the ex-Minister of Information. She graduated summa cum laude from the University of Pennsylvania and attended the University of Maryland School of Medicine. She completed her emergency medicine residency at the McGovern Medical School at UT Health Houston. Dr. Ijeoma earned an MPA in International Development from the John F. Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University and an MBA from the Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania. She is now the first African American medical professional to serve in that role. Dr. Ijeoma has vast leadership and advocacy experience and is currently serving as the president of the Connecticut College of Emergency Physicians. Before her recent appointment, she served for several years on the board of directors of Texas and Connecticut Colleges of Emergency Physicians. She was an assistant professor of emergency medicine at Baylor College of Medicine, Houston, Texas, and she is currently a clinical assistant professor of medicine at Yale University. Recently, Dr. Ijeoma made history after being named the new chief medical officer at the Jersey City Medical Center in the United States of America. Congratulations, Dr. Ijeoma. We celebrate you as our diaspora of the moment.
That ends today's episode of your favorite TV show, The Diaspora. Do keep a date with us next week. I remain your anchor, Khadija Bomani. Stay positive.